go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Leon Panetta, former congressman and former member of the House Agriculture Committee.
Jim, if you want to go ahead.
Sounds good. I'm Jimmy Panetta, a current member of the House Agriculture Committee on a few subcommittees, including nutrition, BHR, as well as livestock and foreign ag. And I'm also a member of the Ways and Means Committee and Budget Committee, too.
My name is Michael Panetta. I'm the staff assistant for the House Ag Committee as well. Thank you both for your time and agreeing to do this interview. And I'm excited to have a conversation with y'all. And I'll start the first question with kind of just a broad, what made you decide to want to serve on the House Ag Committee while you were in Congress? And I'll have Nanu go ahead and start first.
Well, it's probably some of the same reasons that Jimmy is on the Ag Committee. You know, the district that we represented is the Central Coast of California. And it's obviously a beautiful district, has a beautiful coastline, a lot of tourism, has, you know, a lot of great small businesses and hospitality industry is a big industry there. But without question, one of the biggest industries in that area is agriculture. We've got a lettuce industry, fresh vegetable industry that is one of the biggest, not only in the state, but in the country. And for that reason, when I got elected, I thought it was important to get on the Ag Committee. Although, look, the farmers here don't live on a lot of support prices. The reality is that there are areas where they are impacted at the federal level. So I thought it was important to become a member of the Agriculture Committee and be able to represent their interests on the committee.
Yeah, Jim, if you want to go ahead and follow that up.
Yeah, that's exactly it. When I tell people I'm from the Central Coast of California, obviously they understand the beauty of the Central Coast of California, but not many people realize how much bounty we have when it comes to our agriculture. I always say we got a lot of beauty, we got a lot of bounty, and bounty we do. It's the #1 industry in our area, bringing over close to 100,000 jobs and close to $4 billion to the economy. But as you know, we have a unique agriculture. It's all of our specialty crops. I mean, look, there's a reason why we have so many appellations there on the Central Coast. And what I mean by that is you talk to anybody on the Ag Committee, heck, you talk to anybody in Congress, they know I come from the salad bowl of the world. But you also got the strawberry bowl, you got the artichoke capital, you got the garlic capital, and so on and so forth because of our numerous hundreds of specialty crops that we have. And therefore, I knew that I had to basically continue the legacy, not just of Secretary, my dad and your Nano, but also Sam Farr as well, who started off on the Ag Committee and then went to Ag Approps. And I knew it'd be the right thing to have as a representative of the Central Coast to be on the Ag Committee and to continue to fight for our specialty crops, which I know, especially on the Ag Committee, you have to when it comes to the Farm Bill and for making sure that our specialty crops get the attention that they deserve when it comes to research, when it comes to organics, when it comes to areas like that, making sure that they get the proper funding, proper research, and also expanding into mechanization as well, which I think we did a good job doing when it came to the Farm Bill of 2018. So it's why this term, my second term in Congress, although I'm on a specialized committee, the Ways and Means, I knew I wanted to be on agriculture. And so I had to ask Chairman Peterson to be on and to waive on the Agriculture Committee. And I was fortunate enough to Chairman Carlin Peterson that he let me be on the committee. And so I'm honored to be on it now, as well as Ways and Means, as well as Budget, because it means so much to our community there on the Central Coast, not just in Monterey County, but Santa Cruz County, San Benito County, and even Santa Clara County and Gilroy.
Jimmy, I guess one of the questions I would have following that up is, have you seen any of the policies that happen within the district, within our agricultural bubble in Monterey and the greater surrounding area? Have you seen policy issues change since the time that Secretary Panetta was a congressman there? Or is there still pretty much constant?
You mean in regards to our agriculture?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think obviously it's become a little more advanced, as most agriculture has in a number of ways. That's why I'm continuing to push, obviously, not just for immigration reform, which he'll be the first to tell you, which they passed back when he was a member. Continue to push for that. Obviously, we can't have that based on the partisanship that's going on right now, but we're going to continue to push for that. But we also got to continue to pivot and make sure that there's mechanization as well when it comes to our specialty crops. It's our specialty crops are unlike the agriculture that's throughout the rest of the country. It's not like the commodity crops. You can't just run a machine through the field. It takes humans to actually go into the field and actually harvest these crops. And it's very hard to replace the human discernment when it comes to what product is not just safe, not just ripe, not just ready to be picked, not just clean, but also aesthetically pleasing to the other humans, because those products usually go from the field to the containers, right to the store shelves, and then from the store shelves, they come directly home and right onto our kitchen table. And so it takes that human discernment, and technology has yet to catch up with that. They're trying, but we're continuing to make sure that we push for that. And I think we're able to do that, at least get that language into the Farm Bill back in 2018. A big step when it comes to mechanization in regards to changing policies when it has to come with specialty crops, and also with organics as well. Obviously, organics just were starting back when my father was a representative, and now they've burgeoned, and now we're putting millions and millions of dollars into organics and organic research. And so it's not just something that was just specialized. It's actually throughout the country now. Everybody understands the value of organic crops, and so we're continuing to make sure that funding is there for the research that's necessary to have that type of crop that we do on the Central Coast.
And Secretary Panetta, have you seen any sort of legacy that you were able to leave, or the committee, while you were working on it, was able to leave, that you see the current congressman and future congressmen kind of rolling with, to say, kind of being affected with in the present?
Yeah, no, look, I think the most important thing about representing a district like this with an agricultural industry that we have is to be here and be in touch with that industry, to understand it, to understand the issues that farmers have to face every day, to understand the challenges that farming requires. I was raised on a farm, and I know the work. And Jimmy was equally raised on that farm, and understands what work is about on a farm and what you have to do, and the sacrifices you have to make. And I think it's important for a representative to be able to relate to that, to understand it. We have a lot of farmers in this district, and some are big farmers and some are not so big farmers. But all of them are working hard. Whether they're raising lettuce or whether they're raising cattle or raising whatever crop is important for this area. They're dependent on labor. They're dependent on weather. They're dependent on the prices that they're going to get at a particular time. So it's a challenging way to live. And I think the most important thing that I tried to do was to be able to be there, to understand them. I had a lot of meetings with farmers. I had a lot of meetings with the associations that were involved in farming. I spent some time in the Central Valley to understand that part of farming, because it's almost in its own way, a different kind of world, but yet one you have to understand. And I also thought it was important to understand the diversity of agriculture in this country. Agriculture is not the industry that it once was, but the reality is it's still a very important industry in this country, not just to families and workers, but to our economy. But it's very diverse. I mean, the guys that are raising wheat and raising soybeans and raising cotton, it's a different kind of agriculture. And one of the things that I thought was important was to understand the nature of that very different agriculture and try to get them to understand the nature of the agriculture that we had here on the Central Coast. And I think building that kind of relationship, both with the people who represent farmers in the other parts of the country, but also building that relationship with our own farmers, it was a very important ingredient to our ability to be able to represent the needs of this agriculture in Washington.
And Secretary Panetta, do you have any favorite memories that are in the back of your head from serving on the House Agriculture Committee?
Well, you know, I was in the Congress for 16 years, so I've got a lot of memories involved with agriculture. I mean, a couple memories that I'll mention. Actually, when I first went on the Agriculture Committee, Tom Foley got elected chairman. Tom Foley was from the state of Washington, eventually became Speaker of the House. But what had happened was that the most senior member, Congressman Pogue from Texas, I believe, was defeated as chairman, and Tom Foley became the chairman. So, you know, I walked into the first meeting of the Agriculture Committee, and you know, I was not only new, but we had a new chairman as well, representing both sides. But Tom Foley, to his credit, did something that I've never forgotten, which was that he got up and he said that Chairman Pogue had been an outstanding member of the Agriculture Committee, an outstanding chairman, was still a member of the Agriculture Committee. And he would be honored to have him serve as vice chairman of the committee. And everybody stood up and clapped. Tom Foley was a guy who had a lot of class and you know, really respected members and respected their seniority. And that's a moment I've never forgotten. The other one that I thought was a little more fun was that you know, as Jimmy knows, members there will bring in all kinds of stuff from their districts. You know, they've got corn, you've got peanuts, you got raisins, you got all kinds of things that were coming in. So one day I just, you know, I said, you know, God, I need to bring something from the Central Coast. And what's a unique crop of the Central Coast? Artichokes. So I had worked with the agriculture industry, and we had Artichoke Day at the Capitol. They actually served artichokes in the cafeterias and dining room. But I also brought artichokes to the Agriculture Committee, and I put an artichoke at each table. And some of these members had never seen an artichoke and were saying, "What the hell is this? What's this cactus doing here?" And you know, I obviously took a lot of ribbing that day. I said, "Look, take a hard look at that artichoke, because it happens to be a very important crop in the Central Coast. And if you take the time to get through all of the prickly part of the artichoke, it's one of the best eating things you can have." So eventually we were able to convince the members that it's an important crop. And by the way, it's very expensive on the East Coast. Out here, you know, we get used to artichokes, but back in Washington, it's pretty expensive. So I think they appreciated the fact that I was able to do that. And you know, maybe Jimmy could do that as well, because I'm sure there are people that have no idea what the hell an artichoke is.
Well, it's a little different now. There are people on the Ag Committee that are a little more enlightened, I should say, when it comes to the products that we have on the Central Coast, including artichokes and all the other products that we have, which makes it a little bit easier. But Dad hit on an important point about the Ag Committee. My memories are because, and I've only been there 3.5 years, but I find it to be a very bipartisan committee, and the members truly get along. And I think that's because we are all dealing with the same area and pushing forward. Yes, we'll have different sorts of agriculture, but you find our similarities when it comes to that agriculture. And so it's making sure that we understand, yes, each other's crops, but also focusing on what areas we can come together on, like research and nutrition, things of that, and organics as well. And so it is having that understanding of each other's agriculture, but also the understanding of the individual farmers throughout this country. And I think my dad hit on a good point. I mean, I call it the 4 M's, and that's what all farmers have to deal with: is that Mother Nature, the mandates, the regulations, the markets, and then I say immigration, even though it starts with an I, it sounds like an M. Immigration. And I think these are areas that our farmers are constantly having to deal with throughout this country, obviously, especially on the Central Coast. But that makes them, in order to survive, you have to pivot. You have to do that. And so it's easier to have the relationships with Republicans on the Ag Committee because we all have farmers who are going through that, and we all appreciate the people who are going through that, and we're all fighting for those people who are going through that because they deserve it, because they work their butts off. And so it's up to us to make sure that we have the policies in place to help them out as best as we can. That's the least we can do as members of Congress. And let me tell you, there are Democrats and Republicans who get that. And one of my best memories is when I was in the minority last term, and the Farm Bill was being put together, was being formulated, obviously, by the majority, the Republican Party. And based on the friendships that I developed with members on the other side of the aisle on the Ag Committee, I had Republican members of the Ag Committee come up to me and say, Jimmy, I know I know you're an advocate for your area. What do you need in the Farm Bill that I can ask for? These were Republican members that didn't have to do that, but they took time out of their day to come over to me. Actually, one asked to meet me at a bar and basically said, hey, and I had no idea what he wanted, but he sat me down and said, hey, I want to make sure that your interests are covered in the Ag Committee. And it's those types of relationships that you have. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some partisanship that goes on, especially when it comes to that 4-letter word SNAP. But the fact is that there are areas that we can come together, especially on the Ag Committee, especially when it came to that Farm Bill, and we eventually did. And guess what? I got many of the funding. I got much of the funding because of the advocacy that my Republican, not just members, my Republican friends did for me in the majority that when they were formulating that bill. So, it is that bipartisanship that to me is one of the main reasons why I like being on the Ag Committee. Yes, because we're fighting for farmers who deserve it and farm workers who deserve it, but also fighting with other members of Congress, Democrats and Republicans, for the same cause. Makes it easier and actually makes it fun.
Well, I think that's a great transition into our last question, and I'll give this one to you, Congressman Panetta. What's the biggest lesson that you've taken away from working in agriculture?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, like I said, it comes down to bipartisanship. It really does. Dad still makes a good point that in regards to our crops, you have to make sure that other members understand them. Like I said, people are a little more enlightened these days when it comes to organics and specialty crops and healthy eating and things of that. So it makes it a little bit easier, but you got to put them on the ground. And so I was honored to have several Republican members come to my district, get out in the field, see and take in the massive types of crops that we have there, but also what goes into harvesting these types of crops. Not only when it comes to the human individuals and the farm workers and telling them how important that is, but also, like I said, the mechanization, actually exposing them to that. And then me going to their district, Republican districts, where we got out in the fields and I saw their soy and their corn and their wheat. And that's it. That's pretty much all they have. Whereas they come to our district and they see everything, the hundreds of crops that we have. And so it's eye-opening for both of us. But it also develops that understanding and then makes it easier for us to work together when it comes to ensuring that we have to basically put together a farm bill or put together the policies that help all of us, especially when it comes to ag research, which is very important for the specialty crops. But that also transitions in the nutrition. I mean, I had Secretary Perdue come out to the district, USDA Secretary Perdue come out to the district. And we had a town hall, and he was willing to have a town hall in my district, which is a pretty blue district. He was taking a big chance, but everybody was very respectful and very informative and talking to him about the importance of nutrition and how the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program is vital for us there on the Central Coast, especially now in dealing with the pandemic that we are, how important that program is. And that, as a witness said the other day, you can't food bank our way out of this. We're going to have to continue to invest in SNAP, and having the secretary in the district actually hearing from people, telling them how important it is. That was a lesson, not just for me, but I hope for the Secretary of Agriculture to understand how important SNAP was, and it makes it easier for me to make our argument with him, with other members of Congress, when you have the Secretary there listening to our constituents, and that's the most important thing. And so it was a lesson learned for everybody.
I think Jimmy's right on the primary lesson, which is the lesson that in many ways goes to the heart of governing in our democracy. I mean, the reality is that unless both Democrats and Republicans are working together, very frankly, you can't govern the country. And we see a lot of the problems now related to that. But on the Agriculture Committee, and I experienced the same thing when I first went on the Agriculture Committee, it was a committee where you really related to others on the committee. You work together on issues. I mean, I was chair of the nutrition subcommittee, and obviously, it's called SNAP now. It's food stamps in those days. And I had a Republican ranking member at the time when I was chairman by the name of Bill Emerson from Missouri. And Bill Emerson wanted to develop feeding programs for the elderly. He was really interested in that. So what I did with Bill is that we went and had hearings, around the country, really all over the country. We went to his area, came to my area, but we had hearings together. They were bipartisan. We had witnesses put together. Our staffs were working together on developing the material. And as a result of that, we developed, really some landmark legislation with regards to hunger relief, with regards to the food stamp program. And I had bipartisan support, even though it was controversial then. Yet when I worked with a Republican, we were able to put together bipartisan support for that bill. So one of the keys of that committee is the ability to because we're all in this together, particularly when it comes to agriculture. And when you're working on a farm bill, that really emphasizes the fact that you're all in the same boat. And, you're dealing with a Congress, very frankly, where most of them come from urban areas, where most of them come from suburban areas, where most of them don't necessarily represent agriculture. And so the ability to take a farm bill, piece together all the programs that are part of a farm bill, be able to put together and not only the bill, but meet the needs of your farmers in that bill, is what the Ag Committee is all about. And by the way, it's true not just on the House side, it's true on the Senate side as well. I mean, that kind of bipartisanship is very important. But as a result of that, you're able to get things done. I mean, Jimmy mentioned the fact we did immigration reform in the 80s. Tough issue, as we know now. But it was done because we sat in a room, Republicans and Democrats, and worked through the issues and came to a consensus. We came to a compromise, and we were able to get it passed. That happened because members had worked on other issues together and trusted one another. So it is the basic principle of governing that is reflected in the Agriculture Committee because of the nature of what we're all trying to defend, which is a way of life in this country that goes back to the beginning of our country. Agriculture is incredibly important to this country, but more importantly, it's important to the quality of life that we have in America. So I've always been proud of my service on the Ag Committee. I think it's one of the best committees on Capitol Hill to understand how to govern in our democracy.
Well, Secretary Panetta, Congressman Panetta, thank you for your time. I feel like we had a great discussion today, and thank you for all the insight that you both have been able to provide.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Dad.
No worries.